Good evening, folks. This is the weekly wake-up call. We're going to talk a little bit about the orange jackaloon and his mission of mercy this week to Ohio. And I want to talk a little bit about water for a minute. He brought some Donald Trump special water, the good stuff. That's what he called it. The good stuff. So let me talk a little bit about water, because I worked for a company that actually made the microbiological filters that were used in the development of the Safe Drinking Water Act. And when bottled water got big in the United States, they used those same filters to test bottled water sources as well. So bottled water in plastic is not regulated, and Dave will talk about that more, but there is a unofficial expiration date for that of about 2 years in plastic. And why is that? Because water is considered a solvent, and it will eventually leach chemicals from the plastic containers into the water that you will be drinking out of those containers. So, I also had one salesman from Millipore tell me that bottled water was the biggest graft in America. So I don't know what to tell you. But what I do know is that Donald Trump's water isn't necessarily the good stuff. So I'm going to turn this over to Dave right now.
So here's what I'll say, and we'll talk about deregulation more. We're going to be talking about deregulation all tonight. But water, bottled water, is a grift. And from the grifter king himself, it's the perfect grift for two reasons. Number one, everybody needs it to drink it, to wash their clothes and dishes, to wash themselves, and to water their plants and grow their food. That's number one. Number two, as Deb said, the FDA does not regulate it. Water by itself does not degrade or pollute itself or whatever. You do have to boil it if it's in streams and stuff. But water itself isn't bad. It degrades over time, and if it's open bottles of water, bacteria can get in it. If it's stored improperly in rooms that are more than 70 degrees, or if they're subjected to sunlight, it can speed up the process. And as Deb said, bottling companies generally say about 2 years. Now, there's a claim out there that Donald Trump provided the citizens of Ohio, the victims of a derailment, which, by the way, could have been prevented potentially if Donald Trump himself hadn't rolled back a safety regulation in regards to brakes, which I will talk about later in the longer show. But you have this water that people claimed was from 2010. Trump has been selling water for a very long time. He sold a product called Trump Ice that had his picture on it and all that. That was discontinued in 2010. And based on Reuters and a couple other articles that I saw, it was rebranded as Trump Natural Spring Water in 2015 and is currently used in his hospitality venues, like his hotels and in different conventions and golf courses and all that stuff. I saw nothing about having dates on it. Some companies do have dates on it to just stamp when it was produced. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have to have that. So we don't know if it was produced in 2015 or if it's quote unquote newer water, or if it was stored properly. But what I can say is that for him to roll out all of these cases of water, it's a perfect opportunity for a photo op. It's a perfect opportunity for slamming on the Democrats in response to the to the derailment that he possibly was part of and caused. So, and it's a good way to get rid of his product that may be aging and may not have been stored properly. So we're not saying that Twitter is a cesspool of bad information. We're not saying that this water was Trump ice or 13-year-old water. What we are saying is we don't know because it's not regulated, wasn't dated. We have no idea.
Right.
Okay. It's perfect for him.
The only thing we do know is, once again, Donald Trump has taken advantage of people who are in a painful situation in order to ingratiate himself with the voters. Look at, do you think that I believe that Donald Trump would have gone there under any other circumstance if he wasn't running for president in 2024? I say no, okay? I don't think he gives a fat rat's ass about anybody but himself. And, you know, it's evidenced by the way he left the venue yelling to everybody, have a good time. What the fuck? Okay.
What I will say in closing,
you know,
what I will say in closing is to the citizens of Ohio, two things. Number one, you want to know, have a lab test the water. That's one way to do it. I'd love to see those videos where labs actually tested the water to see if it had any contaminants or whatever, number one. And number two, would you trust a man who rolled back dozens of environmental regulations, including regulations on water pollution? And that's what I got. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't trust him with anything at any time, anywhere. Right. So, I mean, we're talking about a guy who told 30,573 documented lies in a 4-year period.
Right.
So
perfect grift. Water is the perfect grift.
He's an absolute grifter. That's what he does. That's what he does with efficiency. Not much else, but that's what he does with efficiency.
Anyway, thanks, guys. We'll see you.